Okay, you were good.
Okay, we'll go ahead and get a Finance Committee meeting started. We do have a quorum, and the mayor and actually one other member is here. Councilmember Kozak and Edwards. This is discussion for ordinance 2022-22, which is a supplemental appropriation to provide for funding for representative services, owners representative services for the McKinley Field, where the Grandview Center is going to go, as well as police, fire, EMS, and the administrative building. This is the next step that we're taking in this process, and the amount is $20,450, which will be appropriated for Fund 350 Special Improvements Fund. Go ahead and get started. Director Coker, you want to give a synopsis of this background?
Give the background, and then the Director of Finance might want to speak to the specifics, but there are a number of consultants, folks that we need to onboard in order to be ready. If issue 32 is successful on November 8th, we want to be able to hit the ground running. And so we have been working on selecting and onboarding the entire team for that, so that we can get going as soon as we can. The owner's rep is helping us with pieces of that, and so we would like to be able to get them onboarded as soon as possible. And the appropriation is to cover just services through the end of this year. And even then, if the bond issue weren't successful, we can always truncate their contract at will at any moment anyway. So it's to cover through the end of this year, but it could be truncated, November 9th if we so desired.
You would just maybe go over what the owner's representative services entails.
Yeah, sure. So when you're delivering any kind of major capital improvement project like this, certainly one as complex as the new fire, EMS, police, and admin building, there are a lot of moving parts, and somebody needs to be paying attention to all of those on the owner's behalf. There is many, larger organizations, State of Ohio, Ohio State, City of Columbus, they have whole departments dedicated to just paying attention to construction projects on the owner's behalf. You have to also coordinate things that aren't necessarily being provided by the contractor. A lot of different individual players, a lot of contracts, a lot of money scheduled, the overall project budget. So the owner's rep for us will be bringing together not only what the contractors are doing, but also what the owner, which is to say the City of Grandview Heights, needs to be doing to support the project directly, helping specifically with developing the overall project budget, which would include, again, not only the building, but also things like, today we were talking about insurance specific to the project, tracking the funding. So we're going to have one CMR, or the plan is to have one CMR with two projects, so he'll help track the money into both projects so that we know, how much has been billed against each project, so sort of separating out some of that stuff. You will also...
what is CMR again?
The owner's rep really kind of takes, the CMR's got a piece of it, but the city also has some pieces. For instance, there's folks down on this site, and in relocating them, there are going to be some activities that need to happen, some small sets of plans that need to happen, some relocations, a little bit of construction, this and that. They'll help with organizing some of those pieces, certainly knowing when they need to happen, and getting the actual work done. So they're really I don't know if you've ever done a home improvement project, but all the things that you do as a homeowner to kind of facilitate the work of the contractor, you can still a little bit think of it that way, I guess. And again, they're filling a need that organizations that do this frequently, they'll have a dedicated internal employee following along and facilitating, reviewing the money, reviewing the schedule, coordinating for things, maybe owner supplied things that need to be put in the building. They'll get the order right, they'll provide the information and contractor, just all that kind of stuff. So by hiring an outside assistant, if you will, consultant on this to assist, we are filling a gap because we don't need a whole department, right? But we need somebody right now. So it's filling a gap that other organizations might have an employee dedicated to.
And who, do we have someone named right now?
Yes, the administration interviewed, forget, 7 or 8 different firms over the past year or so. I had lots of different folks come in, and ultimately we selected Hill International as one of the, they come very well recommended. They're actually an international company. They just so happen at the moment to be employing Milton Lewis, who was a councilman once upon a time here at the city. So he has that experience. So it's been some time ago. He has been an owner's rep throughout his career, working for the county, for the state, for local, large, or institutional organizations. Hill right now is doing, providing owner's rep services also for Westerville for some of their new municipal buildings that they're working on. They also were owner's rep for some of the completed projects that we saw for City of Columbus safety services buildings. So they have recent relevant experience not only with the building type, but also kind of understand a little bit about Grandview Heights, and they're very dedicated. Milt is, excited to help see this project to completion. So yeah, Hill International is who was selected.
Okay. I think Milt served with us for about 5 months and then was gone, yeah. Councilmember Kozak, you have any questions?
I know about Terry coached his 2 daughters in soccer, so him and Jerry, and then they moved away a while back, and that was when he left council. But he's a nice person. I don't have any questions.
Any other members have any questions for the director?
Is the budget, I know you mentioned the budget here is to provide these services through the end of the year. Is that on how's that broken down? Is that on a monthly basis? How does that kind of work?
Their billings will be monthly.
Yeah.
And their overall services are described for the entirety of the project should we go forward, so we kind of know what they'll be. They are hourly. And there's a range of services, so there is a certain amount of management, if you will, on my part as to the things that I ask Mel to do versus that I do myself. So the intent there would be to utilize him for the things that I really need him to do and really need help with, and then to try to kind of manage that budget internally. But yeah, that would be if they provided all of the services this year. I don't, the 20, not all the services, but all the services they had scheduled for this year. Which I don't know if they'll actually bill quite that much, just looking at holidays, and we started looking at schedules for different things, and it should be adequate for the year.
Yeah.
In their proposal, they provided a really nice schedule. So by quarter, they have the number of hours and for each person. So they really have, and they sent us 2022, this is what we expect, 23, 24, 25, and they show you the hours, kind of like a timeline along. So that's where we got it, was just from their initial thoughts. But they provided a great timeline to kind of show us how they see it proceeding.
Okay, and again, the amount is $20,450. Director Miller, you want to speak to the
Yeah, so that is
financials on that?
the amount for 2022, and we're gonna take it from Fund 350, which is the capital improvement fund, and then if the bond issue passes in January, we'll come forward with the remaining amounts of the different contracts that we've kind of started, and we'll have the balance of all of these for you to appropriate.
If I may.
Yeah.
The school is using Concord Addis, who we also interviewed and really liked. We actually used them, if you guys recall, that we came in with an estimate for this building that we really had to look hard at and
do some value engineering before we even finalized it. And they actually looked at the original cost proposal. This is the type of thing an owner's rep does. They look at the cost proposals and essentially independently validate for you, and also can lean on the outside contractor, which is the CMR, essentially a general contractor. It is helpful to have an agent. I've not done this before in this role. I know that the prior administration used, I will not remember the name, but used somebody when we did the service. Colliers did the service
yeah.
building. I think that Hill will be actually a lot more hands-on, to be honest. This is a much bigger, more complex project, and Director Calver's underselling herself because I know she can do this, but she'll do a fine job of managing the person who's our outside agent as well, and just really having another layer of diligence on that, and also being able to kind of manage the other projects that are on our plate. This is going to be a massive project for the city, and I'm really excited to work with Mill.
So Concord Atlas,
Concord Atlas, Doug Atlas, and I think this is actually good for sort of the public engagement and transparency piece of this too, because they can serve as sort of your spokesperson at times if there are questions about the project, and can explain to the public in meetings sometimes. I just think it's nice to have somebody who's in the technical details, and can, pull up the spreadsheet like that, and there's a lot that goes into this. We're not even in it, and I'm now starting to appreciate, even just moving a department or two while you're delivering services is no easy task. So.
okay. And one other thing, I know that, we've been talking throughout the past few weeks, couple months, how time is of the essence in getting this funding sooner the better. So in light of that, Director Culver, you, administration would like for this to be passed with suspension of the rules this evening?
We would, however, I'm not sure there's enough people in attendance to do that. So, unfortunately, I think we'll have to wait.
We're gonna need 6 votes?
6 or 7.
And there are only 5 that I know of, the 5 attending.
Oh, okay. Okay. Any other questions, concerns from committee members or members as a whole?
I've missed this before. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Chair Smith, I was a little bit late.
this is the second reading this evening, yeah, so, okay, go ahead.
I was just wondering if you have a sense of like the total price tag, because Director Miller, you mentioned you have like a scope of work for all the
Yes.
services into the years ahead.
$454,000.
Okay.
Okay. Well, since we can't pass it, suspending the rules this evening, I will move to recommend approval to council.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Again, this is good first initial steps in our plans for getting the renovate or the new building, police, fire, and administration, as well as the parks build or the Grandview Center, McKinley Field. So this definitely good initial steps that need to be done. So glad to see this is moving forward. No further business. We'll go ahead and adjourn. It's 6:45.
Didn't Milt serve? He had already served. Was this like a second term or third term?
He did